All right, everyone. Get ready for a deep dive into a topic that's pretty complex, but surprisingly relevant to your everyday life. Free will.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at some excerpts from freewill.pdf.
Okay.
And I promise this isn't your typical philosophy lecture.
All right.
We're going to be talking about AI.
Oh, wow.
Pop culture.
Interesting.
We'll even throw in a little bit of Westworld, too.
Okay.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you were just acting out a script in your own life?
Oh, yeah.
I know, except
Maybe those big life choices, the job you took, the person you married, weren't really choices at all, but just pre-programmed responses.
That's a fascinating question. And actually, that feeling you're describing is exactly where the author of freewill.pdf begins their exploration.
Interesting.
They break down the traditional definition of free will.
And the ability to make choices without external influence.
Okay, so how does that look like in our day-to-day lives?
Well, think about something simple, like choosing pasta over pizza for dinner.
Okay, yeah.
On the surface, a pretty simple decision, right?
Yeah, seems like it.
But if you really think about it,
yeah,
what factors influence that choice?
Yeah, that's true.
Your mood, your dietary habits, maybe even a subconscious craving for carbs.
Yeah, definitely.
It's in these mundane decisions that the illusion of free will starts to unravel.
So you're saying even a dinner choice might not be as free as we think.
Right.
Wow, that's kind of blowing my mind already.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little confused about how Westworld fits into all this.
Sure.
I mean, it's a cool show, but what do AI and cowboys have to do with free will?
Well, the author uses Westworld as an analogy to illustrate the potential limitations of human free will.
Okay.
The AI hosts in the show, like Dolores, they live in this meticulously programmed reality.
Okay.
They think they're making their own choices.
Right.
But really, their actions are being dictated by lines of code written by their creators.
So you're saying we humans might be like Dolores, stuck in a pre-programmed loop without even realizing it?
It's definitely a question worth exploring.
Yeah, for sure.
And the author takes it a step further by introducing this concept of codes that govern our behavior.
Codes?
Yes.
Okay.
And these codes are driven by core human desires. The desire for respect, connection, curation, security, even things like money and fame.
Hold on. Are you saying that our basic human desires are just lines of code?
It's a radical idea. But the author argues that these desires often dictate our choices in ways we don't realize.
Okay, so give me an example.
Well, let's say someone has this strong desire for financial security.
Okay, yeah.
That might lead them to choose a high-paying job they hate.
Yeah.
Even if it means sacrificing their passion or happiness.
Right, they're not actually making a free choice.
Exactly.
They're just responding to this deeper code embedded within them.
That's the idea the author's putting forward.
Wow. Okay, this is already getting pretty mind-bending.
It is.
So we've got these codes driving our desires.
Right.
And then what?
And to add another layer,
oh no,
the author introduces this idea of loops within the code.
Loops? What are loops?
So essentially these loops are layers of programming that reinforce the illusion of free will.
Okay.
We keep making the same choices driven by the same desires without ever questioning the underlying program.
So it's like a computer program running in the background of our minds.
It's a powerful analogy.
Yeah, that's wild.
But the author doesn't just leave us in this deterministic abyss.
Okay, good, because I was getting a little worried there.
They argue that the key to breaking free lies in becoming aware of these codes and loops.
Okay, so how do we do that?
We need to question those deep-seated desires that we often take for granted.
Okay, so next we're going to have to figure out how to actually do that.
Exactly.
How to break free from these loops.
That's what we'll be exploring next.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
All right, let's dive in.
Okay, so how do we even begin to identify these hidden codes and loops that are supposedly running our lives?
That's a great question.
It sounds like a pretty daunting task.
It is.
Like trying to debug a super complex computer program.
Right.
How do we even know where to start?
Well, the author gives a helpful example in freewill.pdf.
Okay.
That shows how these loops can play out in our daily lives.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about the classic loop of work and reward.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
Like get a job.
We put in long hours at a job.
Get that paycheck.
Often one we don't really enjoy.
Right.
Just to earn money.
And then you spend it.
And then what do?
Yeah.
We spend that money on things that we think will make us happy.
Exactly.
A bigger house.
Nice car.
A fancy car.
Vacation.
The latest gadget.
All that stuff.
But often that happiness is fleeting.
It is. Yeah.
And we find ourselves right back on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Working even harder.
Well, more.
To acquire more things.
Yeah.
That we hope
this time
will finally fulfill us.
Yeah, this time it'll be different.
Right.
But it never is.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, the rat race.
Yes.
We're all just running and running.
Always chasing something.
But never really getting anywhere.
And the author argues that this is exactly the kind of thinking that keeps us stuck in these loops.
But isn't that just life?
Well, that's the question.
Work hard, earn money, buy things.
Right.
It's what we're all programmed to do, isn't it?
That's what the author wants us to question.
Okay.
They're challenging us to question the assumptions underlying these ingrained patterns.
So, like, what kinds of assumptions are we talking about?
Well, for example,
what
if true happiness doesn't come from material possessions?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a big one.
What if our worth isn't tied to our productivity or our income?
Right. Those are big questions.
They are.
That ask yourself.
And they can be scary questions to confront.
Yeah.
Because if we dismantle those codes, what if we find out there's nothing underneath?
Right. What if it's all just an illusion?
What if true freedom is just an empty void?
It's a scary thought.
It is.
But the author doesn't just leave us hanging with that fear, does he?
No, they don't.
Okay, good.
They offer a more reassuring perspective.
Okay.
They argue that breaking free from these loops, it's not about erasing our desires.
Okay.
Or becoming emotionless robots.
Right.
It's about understanding those desires.
Okay.
And then choosing how we respond to them.
So it's not about eliminating desires, but about becoming more conscious.
Exactly.
Of how we're making choices based on those desires.
It's about taking control of the program.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Taking control of the program.
And to illustrate this point,
the
author uses the example of an unhappy multimillionaire.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
This individual has achieved immense material success, but they still feel empty inside.
Oh, wow.
They've followed that code of success, but it hasn't led to genuine fulfillment.
So they've reached the top of the ladder, only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall.
Exactly.
They've achieved what society tells them they should want, but it hasn't actually made them happy.
And that's why the author emphasizes the importance of examining those core drives. Those codes that we inherit from our families, our culture, the media.
So are you saying we should question everything?
Well, not everything.
Okay.
But it's about asking ourselves,
are
these desires really our own?
Oh, okay.
Or are they just programs that we've adopted without question?
Okay, so by questioning those desires and breaking free from the loops they create, we can start making choices that are more aligned with our true selves.
That's the idea.
Okay, this is starting to make more sense now.
Good.
But where does consciousness fit into all of this? You mentioned earlier that the author talks about consciousness.
They do.
So how does that all connect?
Well, the author connects this journey of self-discovery to the concept of consciousness. Drawing on the ancient Indian philosophy of Vedanta.
Vedanta?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that.
In Vedanta, consciousness is seen as the ultimate reality.
Oh, wow.
The underlying ground of all experience.
So are you saying that by becoming more aware of these codes and loops?
That's what the author suggests.
That we're actually tapping into a deeper level of consciousness.
That's the idea.
Wow. Okay.
They even include a quote from Swami Vivekananda that speaks to this idea.
Okay, what's the quote?
The will is not free. It is a phenomena bound by cause and effect. But there's something beyond will that is free.
Wow, that's a powerful quote.
It is.
So even if our choices are influenced by these codes and loops, there's still a part of us that transcends those limitations.
Exactly.
A part of us that's truly free.
That's the idea.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
So it's not just about making different choices.
It's about more than that.
It's about expanding our awareness.
Yes.
And tapping into this deeper level of being.
Exactly.
This is really fascinating stuff.
It is.
So I'm ready to dive even deeper.
All right, let's do it.
So it sounds like this whole free will thing, it's less about having like total control over every little choice we make and more about understanding the forces that shape our desires and motivations. Like you were saying before, so true freedom comes not from having unlimited options, but from really recognizing the patterns that influence.
Those underlying patterns.
Yeah, our decisions. And then learning to kind of rewrite those patterns. Break free from those loops that keep us.
Yeah, those loops that keep us stuck.
Yeah.
In the same old routines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like shedding a layer.
It is.
Of programming that no longer serves us.
It doesn't serve us anymore.
Yeah, and that reminds me of a quote from freewill.pdf.
Oh, yeah?
That really stuck with me.
What was it?
It said, every loop of code we break takes us closer to free will. It makes us freer and happier.
Yeah.
The misery lessens and lessens with each jump.
I like that. It's like
this powerful image.
You're constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Becoming more aware of our own.
Like we're updating our software.
Yeah. Internal programming.
Exactly.
So it's not about reaching some like ultimate state.
Yeah. Not some final destination.
Not a perfect free will.
Right.
It's about continually.
Yeah. It's a process.
A journey.
Questioning.
Absolutely.
Expanding our awareness.
Yeah. I think as we do that.
Yeah.
The question of whether or not we have free will, it might become less important.
Less important than the journey itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because ultimately, it's about living a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Regardless of whether we can like definitively prove or disprove this whole free will thing.
I think that's a great point.
And I really like how the author ends freewill.pdf with this thought-provoking question.
Yeah, what was it?
What aspects of your life might be influenced by codes you haven't yet examined?
That's a powerful question.
It is.
To really sit with and reflect on.
It really makes you think about like our beliefs.
Absolutely.
Our habits.
Our reactions.
Yeah, all of it.
Are they really us?
Yeah.
Or are they just
programming?
Yeah, just products of our programming.
It's a challenge.
It is.
To step outside of our comfort zone.
It's not easy.
And really examine those.
Challenge those.
Deeply ingrained patterns.
Yeah, but it's worth it. Because it can lead to a more
authentic. Empowered.
Yeah, a more empowered way of being. Yeah, that's a good way to
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah, I agree.
So to all our listeners out there, keep questioning.
Keep exploring.
Keep diving deep.
Yeah, dive deep into the mysteries of your own existence.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Stay curious.